You hit the snooze button and call it self-care. You tell yourself a story that just 5 more minutes of sleep will somehow get you ready for the war ahead. It is a complete fabrication. It is the first major loss of your day. You are not actually resting in those moments. You are simply hiding. Welcome to Stoic Chisel. If you are drained from living your life on autopilot, press that subscribe button immediately. We are assembling a force of people who absolutely refuse to be victims of their own choices. Do not skip a single frame of this process. Because reclaiming your morning is the first step to reclaiming your entire existence. Let us talk about the reality of your bed. It feels safe. It wraps around you and promises that the outside world can wait. You convince yourself you need more sleep to be productive. But the truth is, an extra hour of unconsciousness will not cure a soul that lacks purpose. Your exhaustion is not physical. It is spiritual. You are tired because your days lack intention. Comfort is the most silent killer of human potential. When you choose the sheets over your goals, you are negotiating with weakness. And weakness always wins when you give it a voice. Pacing speeds up slightly. Most people are sleepwalking through their reality. They wake up already defeated by their own lack of discipline. They drag their bodies out of the dark because society forces them to, not because they possess any internal drive. This is not living. This is merely waiting to die. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the known world. As the emperor of Rome, he could have slept until noon every single day without consequence. He struggled with the exact same heavy limbs and foggy mind that you do, but he wrote a brutal reminder to himself. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive. To breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. He understood a truth that modern society has completely erased. Waking up is not a burden. It is a fleeting, fragile of opportunity. You were not put on this earth to huddle under blankets and hide from reality. You were built to act, to shape your environment, to chisel away the unnecessary until only the essential remains. Carl Jung, the legendary psychologist, revealed why this morning battle is so difficult. He taught us that the unconscious mind will dictate your life until you force it into the light. That instinct to stay in bed is your unconscious fear. It is a physical manifestation of your anxiety about the demands of the day. By staying under the covers, you allow that fear to direct your fate. You must make the conscious choice to break the cycle. The dread of waking up early is always vastly worse than the act of standing up. Seneca reminded us that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. The pain is an illusion. By stepping out of that bed immediately, you shatter that illusion. You prove to your own nervous system, you are the master of this vessel. You prove that discipline is the only true form of freedom. Every time you rise before you want to, you are chiseling away the weak parts of your character. You are leaving behind the version of you that accepts mediocrity. You have won the first battle. Your feet have hit the floor, but do not celebrate yet. Because a massive, invisible trap is waiting for you in the palm of your hand. It is a trap engineered to hijack your dopamine and enslave your focus before you even take your first sip of water. There is a psychological switch hidden deep in your brain. It can only be activated in these dark, quiet hours before the noise begins. If you miss it, you will be a prisoner to the world for the rest of today. Why is your very first act of the day wrapping a digital leash around your own neck? You open your eyes. You are barely conscious. And yet, your hand blindly searches the nightstand. Your fingers wrap around a glowing rectangle. Instantly, you flood your fragile, waking mind with the anxieties of thousands of strangers. You absorb breaking news purposely designed to terrify you. You read emails demanding your immediate compliance, and energy. You watch curated lives that make your own reality feel entirely inadequate. You scroll through endless arguments, outrage, and digital garbage. This is not a morning routine. This is a voluntary submission to mental slavery. It is a slow poisoning of your cognitive potential. Your morning is sacred ground. It is a blank canvas. It is an open field of untouched possibilities, and you sabotage within the first 10 seconds. By plunging into the chaos of notifications, you allow external algorithms to dictate your internal state. You hand over the keys to your emotional kingdom. Before you have even taken a full physical breath, your brain is highly plastic and vulnerable in these early moments. It is actively looking for a framework to understand the day ahead, and you give it panic. You give it comparison. You give it comparison. You give it stress. The ancient Stoics would look at this modern behavior with profound pity. Marcus Aurelius commanded armies and ruled millions. He faced assassinations, plagues, and constant war on the borders of his empire, yet he fiercely guarded his inner peace above all else. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your phone is the ultimate gateway for outside events." It is a Trojan horse filled with the world's noise, disguised as human connection. When you invite it into your bed, you surrender your power entirely. You must establish a ruthless digital quarantine. For the first hour of your day, that device does not exist. It is dead to you. Delaying that scroll is not just a productivity hack for corporate climbers. It is a fundamental act of psychological self-defense. It is how you reclaim the power to choose your own thoughts. But simply ignoring your phone is merely a defensive move. To truly go on the offensive, to master this space, you must create a vacuum of silence. You must wake up 1 hour earlier than the rest of the world. Yes, 1 full hour. I know your mind is already generating excuses. You think you desperately need the sleep. You think it is too dark, too cold, too lonely. You tell yourself you are simply not a morning person. That is a narrative of weakness you have constructed to justify your own lethargy. That extra hour is your golden ticket out of mediocrity. Picture that hour. The world is entirely silent. The sun has not yet risen. No emails are pinging. No one is asking you for favors. No crises have materialized yet. It is a peaceful sanctuary built out of time itself. It is an oasis in the suffocating desert of your daily obligations. This is the only segment of the day that belongs exclusively to you. In this profound silence, you can finally hear your own thoughts without interruption. You can set your intentions. You can anchor yourself in wisdom rather than reacting to external panic. Carl Jung warned us that if we do not look inward, we remain asleep to our true potential. He stated, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." When you stare at a screen, you are looking outside. You are caught in the fever dream of modern society, absorbing desires and fears that are not yours. That extra hour of dark, uninterrupted silence is precisely when you must look inward. It is when you awaken your deeper self. It is when your authentic vision comes into focus, stripping away the mask you wear for the public. It will feel intensely uncomfortable at first. The sheer weight of the silence might even terrify you, because in that silence, you cannot hide from yourself. You cannot drone out your regrets with a podcast or a fast-paced video. You cannot numb your dissatisfaction with a social media feed. You have to sit with your own reality. You have to face the person you are becoming. But growth has never, ever been born in a comfort zone. By rising earlier and rejecting the digital noise, you break the illusion that you are a victim of your schedule. You prove to your unconscious mind that you dictate the terms of your existence. You trade cheap dopamine for lasting, unshakable clarity. You trade daily anxiety for ultimate authority. You have conquered the urge to sleep. You have defeated the desperate urge to scroll. Your mind is now clear, undisturbed, and sovereign. But a clear mind locked inside a paralyzed, dehydrated body is nothing but a well-designed prison. If you want to fully break free and dominate the hours ahead, you must engage in a physical alchemy. You must execute two small, completely ordinary acts of order that will set off an unstoppable psychological chain reaction. And it starts with denying a substance you believe you cannot live without. You think you need that first cup of coffee to survive the morning. You stumble out of the bedroom, desperate for that familiar caffeinated crutch. You convince yourself that you are incapable of functioning without it. Let us be brutally honest. You crave that immediate chemical spike not because your physical body requires it. You crave it because your mind is currently too fragile to endure the grogginess of reality on its own. Your body has been fasting for 8 hours. Your organs are depleted. Your brain is literally operating in a state of severe biological drought, and your first instinct is to flood it with a stimulant. This is the ultimate form of unconscious reactivity. You are letting a blind impulse dictate your very first physical action. To master your morning, you must first master these microscopic battles. The alchemy of a powerful day begins with a single, boring glass of water. This is not a generic health tip. This is a psychological statement of control. When you choose a tall glass of water over the instant gratification of coffee, you are hitting a hard reset on your impulsive nature. You are telling your own nervous system that discipline supersedes desire. Epictetus, one of the sharpest minds in Stoic history, observed this human flaw perfectly. He stated, "Progress is not achieved by luck or accident, but by working on yourself daily. Drinking water before anything else is the physical manifestation of that daily work." It is a deliberate, conscious choice to prioritize biological necessity over an emotional craving. Carl Jung taught us that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That zombie-like walk to the coffee machine is your unconscious ruling you. By stopping, breathing, and drinking water, you violently break the chain of automatic behavior. You seize the steering wheel of your own biology. But biology is only half of this early morning war. Once your internal system is hydrated and steady, you must immediately address your external environment. Look at your bed right now. The sheets are tangled. The pillows are thrown aside. It is a visceral, physical representation of chaos. Most people leave it exactly like that and walk out the door. They carry that unresolved chaos straight into the pressures of their workday. Do not be like most people. Turn around and make your bed. I do not care if you think it is a trivial chore. I do not care if you believe you have vastly more important things to do today. This is not about homemaking. This is about mental architecture. We live in a weak society that constantly glorifies massive, overnight transformations. People want to revolutionize the world, but they refuse to fold their own blankets. The Stoics absolutely despised this kind of arrogance. They understood that absolute greatness is never found in grand, sweeping gestures. It is forged in the relentless execution of tiny, daily disciplines. Marcus Aurelius commanded an empire with absolute precision because he first demanded precision from himself. He knew that if you allow disorder to breed in the small things, it will rapidly infect the large things. When you make your bed, you pull the covers tight. You align the edges. You create rigid structure out of a messy void. In a world where you control almost nothing, you are asserting absolute dominance over your immediate space. You are sending a violent signal to your brain. You are declaring, I do not need external motivation today, because I already possess momentum. This one small act is your very first promise kept to yourself. And a life built on kept promises breeds an unbreakable form of self-respect. Carl Jung believed heavily in the symbolic power of our physical surroundings. He noted that a cluttered space is never just a physical mess. It is a direct reflection of inner noise, unprocessed thoughts, and unresolved emotions. When you tidy your environment, your scattered thoughts are forced to align. A sharply made bed is psychological alignment. It is a fortress of order you have built with your own two hands. You have now hydrated the body. You have organized your space. You have won the foundational battles. But a clear mind in a structured room is still incomplete, because your physical body is still soft, comfortable, and desperate for warmth. To completely shatter the remaining weakness, you must subject yourself to a voluntary shock. You must step into an arena that most people spend their entire lives running away from. Comfort is silently killing you every single day. You have arranged your entire modern life to avoid physical discomfort. You sleep in a climate-controlled room. You wrap yourself in thick, soft layers of cotton. And you wash your body in steaming hot water. This artificial bubble of warmth is making you incredibly weak. It is softening your mental resilience. It is training your nervous system to panic at the slightest sign of friction. If you want to build an unbreakable mind, you must first subject your physical body to voluntary stress. But before you step into the extreme, you must activate the vessel. Some mornings, your physical body feels like dead weight. Your limbs are heavy. Your brain is foggy. You have absolutely zero motivation. The problem is not that you are inherently lazy or broken. The problem is that your biological system is still asleep. Your mind might have opened its eyes, but your nervous system has not caught up. You are trying to run a high-performance engine while it is completely cold. You must move. I am not talking about a brutal, exhausting workout that leaves you drained. This is not about vanity, aesthetics, or breaking personal records. This is about one simple, critical objective: activating your literal life force. A few deep stretches, a brisk walk around the block, a series of simple squats or holds. It is about forcing blood into your dormant muscles and telling your brain that you are alive. It is a quiet act of self-respect. The ancient Stoics did not value physical strength for the sake of looking good. They valued it for vitality and capability. They understood that a stagnant body produces a stagnant mind. Carl Jung echoed this exact sentiment thousands of years later through the lens of psychology. He stated that the body is merely the visibility of the soul. If your physical form is stiff, locked up, and completely dormant, what is your psyche saying? It is saying that you are stuck. It is saying that you are repressed, tired, and hiding from the world. Motion violently disrupts emotional stagnation. If you feel anxious, move. If you feel unmotivated or deeply sad, move. Get your physical body moving, and your stubborn mind will be forced to follow its lead. Momentum creates energy, but gentle movement is only the warm-up. To truly master your internal state, you must cross a threshold of sharp, undeniable pain. You walk into your bathroom. You reach for the handle in the shower. Your brain screams at you to turn it to hot. It begs you for that comforting, warm embrace. In that exact split second of hesitation, your true character is revealed. That resistance you feel is your comfort zone digging its claws into your psychology. Turn the handle to cold. Maximum cold. No filters, no warm-up period, just you and the freezing water. Yes, it is going to suck. It is not supposed to feel good. That is the entire point of the exercise. The ancient Stoics were absolutely obsessed with voluntarily facing discomfort. Seneca, one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in Rome, would routinely wear rough clothing and eat the cheapest food available. He would sleep on the hard floor. He did not do this because he enjoyed suffering. He did it to inoculate his mind against the fear of poverty and loss. He was actively training his nervous system for adversity. A cold shower is the modern equivalent of this ancient resistance training. It is a daily battle of self-conquest. When that freezing water hits your chest, your body goes into immediate shock. Your instinct is to gasp, panic, and immediately jump out of the stream. But you stay. You force yourself to stand still. You force yourself to breathe deeply. You actively override your biological instinct to flee. This is neuroplasticity happening in real time. You are actively rewiring your brain to handle high-stress situations with absolute poise. Carl Jung warned us that what you resist persists. Your resistance to the cold water is symbolic of every other discomfort you avoid in your daily life. It represents the fear of failure. It represents the fear of criticism and the dread of uncertainty. Face the freezing water, and you begin learning to face the rest of the world. The physiological benefits are immediate and undeniable. Your blood flow spikes. Endorphins flood your brain. You are instantly ripped out of your mental fog and dropped violently into the present moment. You do not need another cup of coffee to feel awake. You just need courage. You stepped into the cold, you breathed through the shock, and you proved to yourself that you can endure pain without flinching. That raw confidence does not stay in the bathroom. It follows you into your hardest conversations. It follows you into your work. It shapes your entire identity. Your physical body is now electrified. Your nervous system is fully primed, but your mind is still a chaotic landscape. It is a crowded room filled with thousands of unprocessed thoughts, anxieties, and lingering fears. If you do not empty that room right now, those hidden thoughts will ambush you before noon. You must become the architect of your own mind, and your only weapon is a blank piece of paper. Your mind is not a secure vault. It is a heavily guarded prison cell filled with unnamed thoughts. Most people carry a relentless, chaotic stream of worries. You wake up with a mental loop of yesterday's failures. You carry the heavy anticipation of today's demands. You harbor silent judgments, lingering anxieties, and scattered ideas. And if you leave that mental loop unchecked, it immediately becomes a trap. It poisons your mood before your feet even touch the floor. It clouds your decision-making abilities before you face your first real problem of the day. You think you can just power through it. You think you can ignore the noise and just get to work. That is exactly why you constantly feel overwhelmed by noon. You cannot outwork a cluttered mind. This is why journaling is not some soft, artsy trend for the fragile. It is absolute, non-negotiable mental hygiene. It is the aggressive act of emptying the mental junk drawer before the world forces more garbage into it. The process is brutally simple, but most people are too terrified to do it. You sit down with a physical pen and a piece of paper. No digital screens, no typing, no delete button. There are no rules, and there is no grammar police to judge you. It is a raw, unfiltered release of whatever is sitting heavy in your chest. You let it pour out onto the page, without censoring a single word. You are taking the invisible chaos inside your head and forcing it into a tangible, visible reality. You are extracting the poison. You are separating your actual identity from the fleeting, chaotic emotions that are trying to control you. The most powerful men in human history practiced this daily. The ancient Stoics did not view writing as a hobby. They viewed it as psychological warfare. Marcus Aurelius kept a private journal that we now call meditations. He never intended for a single soul to read those words. They were not written to impress an audience, gain sympathy, or build a legacy. They were dark, personal, intimate reminders written by a man trying desperately to keep his own ego in check. He used ink and paper to process extreme adversity, betrayal, and the immense weight of ruling the Roman Empire. In one of his most private entries, he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That legendary piece of resilience might never have existed if he had not forced himself to write it down. If he had not processed his internal struggles with physical ink and deliberate insight. Journaling did not just help him reflect. It actively helped him govern the world with absolute composure. Modern psychology fundamentally backs up this ancient practice. Carl Jung completely understood the danger of an unexamined mind. He believed that the unconscious mind is constantly trying to dictate your behavior from the shadows. He warned us that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will blindly call it fate. What better way to drag those shadowy impulses into the brutal light of day than by writing them down? When you write, you give your silent inner world a physical voice. You begin to uncover destructive patterns they did not even know existed. You expose the repeating frustrations. You expose the buried fears. You expose the weak narratives you have been living by without ever questioning them. Writing is like forcing an interrogation with the part of your mind that constantly lies to you. And in that brutal honesty, something massive shifts inside your psychology. You stop being a victim of your own thoughts, and you become their absolute master. Your journal is the only truly safe space you have left in this world. You can be furious, anxious, and completely lost on those pages. The paper does not judge you, but it forces you to look objectively at your reality. Seneca believed that daily self-examination was the absolute root of all human wisdom. By doing this in the morning, you are not just reviewing the wreckage of yesterday. You are aggressively preparing your psychological armor for the day ahead. You have now emptied the junk drawer. You have extracted the poison and cleared the mental battlefield. But simply clearing the land is not enough to win the war. A clear mind without a target is just a wandering mercenary. If you want to truly dominate the hours ahead, you cannot just react to what comes your way. You must become the ruthless architect of your own reality before you ever step out the front door. Being busy is the highest form of modern laziness. You wake up and immediately start running at full speed. You jump from task to task, answering emails, fighting fires, and chasing constant distractions. By noon, you are completely exhausted, running on fumes and adrenaline. But when you look back at your day, you have achieved absolutely nothing of real value. This is not a lack of energy or a lack of effort. This is a devastating lack of direction. When you do not give your morning a specific, ruthless target, you automatically give your energy away to whoever is loud enough to demand it. You become a passive reactor to the world's endless demands. You must stop playing defense. You must become the ruthless architect of your own reality. And you do this by setting immediate, concrete goals the moment you finish clearing your mind. I am not talking about creating some abstract, feel-good vision board for the next 5 years. I am talking about 3 micro goals that you will execute and destroy today. Not 10, not 20, just 3. Reply to that one critical email you have been avoiding for weeks. Write 1 single page of your project. Walk outside for 20 minutes without looking at your phone. When you keep your daily targets aggressively simple and painfully clear, you give yourself permission to actually finish them. Because being busy does not mean you are being productive. 10 half-finished tasks only build deep psychological frustration and completely drain your dopamine. 1 fully completed task builds unstoppable momentum and locks in your self-respect. The Stoics were incredibly intentional with their limited time on this earth. They absolutely refused to wander blindly through the day, hoping that clarity would magically appear out of thin air. Epictetus, a man who literally clawed his way out of slavery, put it with brutal simplicity. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Translation: if you do not define what success looks like for you today, you will spend your entire existence fulfilling someone else's definition of success. Carl Jung emphasized this exact concept through the psychological process of individuation. He believed that becoming a fully realized whole person requires deliberate, conscious direction. He stated that your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Setting clear, daily goals is not just a cheap productivity hack for corporate managers. It is the daily forging of your true identity. It is how you separate who you actually are from what the weak world wants you to be. But having a rigid list of tasks is only half of the architecture. Before you step out into the chaos of the world, you must mentally live the day before it ever happens. This is not some mystical, positive thinking delusion designed to make you feel comfortable. This is a grounded, biologically proven method of neurological preparation. The Stoics practiced a profound mental exercise called premeditatio malorum. The premeditation of evils. They would sit quietly in the morning and actively visualize everything that could possibly go wrong. They pictured the suffocating traffic, the difficult coworkers, the unexpected financial failures, and the bitter betrayals. They did not do this to create anxiety or to catastrophize their lives. They did it to completely eliminate the element of surprise. When you visualize the obstacle before it arrives, it completely loses its power to disrupt your emotional baseline. You have already faced it in the dark theater of your mind. You already know exactly how you are going to respond, using cold logic instead of hot emotion. You must rehearse your strength before the test actually arrives. Close your eyes for 3 intense minutes. Visualize that difficult meeting. Visualize that frustrating conversation with your partner. Picture exactly how you will stand, how you will breathe, and how you will hold your composure when the pressure spikes and everyone else panics. Make it visceral. Make it absolutely believable to your central nervous system. Olympic athletes use this exact same psychological rehearsal to win gold medals. They swim the entire race in their minds 1,000 times before they ever touch the water. When the starting gun fires, their body simply executes a neurological program that has already been meticulously written. They are familiar with the pain, and they are familiar with the victory. Marcus Aurelius did this every single morning in his command tent. He visualized self-mastery before the incredible, crushing pressures of the Roman Empire could break him. He wrote his calm reactions into existence before the chaotic events even occurred. He did not leave his emotional state to chance, and neither should you. If this mental armor was necessary for the most powerful man on earth, it is absolutely necessary for you to survive modern life. You are training your inner world so intensely that the outer world cannot shake you. Your mind is now empty of garbage and fully loaded with purpose. You have the map for the day. You have built the emotional armor. But all of this brilliant mental architecture will collapse by mid-afternoon if you ignore one final, undeniable biological truth, because a high-performance machine cannot run on toxic fuel, shallow breathing, and artificial light. To hold the line, you must plug back into a primal source of power that modern society has desperately tried to make you forget. You are actively starving your soul, and yet, you are constantly wondering why you feel so incredibly empty. You try to run a complex, high-performance machine on absolute garbage. You skip the vital fuel your brain desperately needs because you are rushing to serve someone else's agenda. Or worse, you feed it processed sugar and cheap energy, expecting it to somehow deliver clarity and resilience. It will not. The ancient Stoics viewed physical self-neglect as a fundamental failure of character. Epictetus warned us that no man is free who is not master of himself. That mastery does not just apply to your grand philosophies and Stoic quotes. It applies directly to how you care for your physical vessel. When you choose real, intentional nourishment first thing in the morning, you are not just eating. You are making a biological declaration of self-respect. You are telling your own mind that you came to perform today, not just to survive. But physical fuel is not the final puzzle piece of this morning architecture. There is a deeper, more dangerous exhaustion that sleep and food cannot fix. It is the heavy, suffocating weight of a life lived entirely inside artificial boxes. You exist under artificial lights. You stare for hours at artificial screens. You breathe a recycled air. You have become completely disconnected from the very environment you were built to dominate. Step outside. It sounds insultingly simple, but it is an absolute biological imperative. Spend just 5 minutes breathing real air, feeling the cold wind, or letting the morning sun hit your face. The Stoics never viewed themselves as separate from the natural world. They believed that aligning with nature was the ultimate path to unshakable tranquility. Carl Jung took this concept further, diagnosing modern anxiety as a severe disconnection from our primal roots. He stated that natural life is the nourishing soil of the soul. When you step outside, you violently rip yourself away from the curated, digital chaos of your schedule. You are reminded that the world is massive, ancient, and completely indifferent to your petty anxieties. It grounds you immediately and shrinks your problems down to their actual size. You are now fed. You are physically grounded. Your mind is clear, and your targets are locked in. There is only one final thing left to do before the world breaches your walls. You must manually speak your reality into existence. The inner critic in your head has been running on autopilot for years, whispering doubt and feeding your insecurities. If you do not aggressively overwrite that voice right now, it will dictate your behavior for the rest of the day. Affirmations are not soft, feel-good mantras for the weak. They are strategic, psychological counterattacks. When you look in the mirror and declare, "I dictate how I respond to the chaos," you are actively forging new neurological pathways. Marcus Aurelius knew that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. By speaking words of power, direction, and absolute authority out loud, you are consciously choosing that color. Carl Jung warned that words are alive with a will of their own. Speak the will of a conqueror. Speak it until your nervous system has no choice but to believe it. Even if your voice shakes, speak the identity of the person you are becoming. Do not wait for confidence to magically arrive. Execute the action. Speak the words, and the confidence will follow. Slow down, delivering a chilling transition. Your morning routine is now complete. You have built an impenetrable psychological fortress before most people have even hit the snooze button. You are armed, you are focused, and you are dangerous. But knowledge without execution is just another form of cheap entertainment. The sun is up, and the daily war has officially begun. The only question left is what you are going to do about it. The morning is over. The architecture is built. You now possess the exact blueprint to stop living as a victim of your own comfort. But let us be completely honest. Simply watching this video changes absolutely nothing. Philosophical theory without physical execution is just another form of cheap entertainment. Tomorrow morning your alarm will ring. The cold floor will be waiting. The heavy silence will demand your attention, and you will face a brutal, binary choice. Are you going to step up as the ruthless architect of your own reality? Or will you remain an obedient slave to the algorithm, the comfort zone, and the noise of the modern world? Pick your side. I want you to declare your identity in the comments right now. Type, "I am the architect," if you are taking absolute control of your morning, or say nothing, scroll away, and willingly accept your daily mediocrity. The universe